Kwa majina naitwa Lawrence Nderi, na hapa ni kwetu, although sio mahali nimezaliwa ni kwingine, lakini hapa ndio my grandfather alikuwa anakaa, na hii ndio ilikuwa nyumba yake. Alikuwa anakaa na yule bibi mdogo wa 28, na hii ndio ilikuwa jikoni kwake. Hapa ndio ilikuwa jikoni, nayo ile ndio ilikuwa show ama bafu. Pale ndio alikuwa, kule ndio kulikuwa msarani. Kwa vile tunasikiaga, kwa sababu hatukumkuta sisi, kwa sababu alikuwa pa 1952 mwezi wa 10, na Nderi alikuwa, he was a great man as we hear, na alikuwa Senior Chief Nderi. He was a son of Senior Wango'mbe wa Ihuura from Mathira, and Wang'ombe wa Ihuura, he migrated from Mathira akakuja huku Nyeri, na ndio Nderi alizaliwa hapa Nyeri, na ndio wakati Wang'ombe wa Ihuura alikufa 1902, alimpatia wazee wale walikuwa wanarida Nderi ndio aweze kuchukua ushukani wa baba yake.
My name is Kijana Chief Nderi. I am a great grandson of the late Senior Chief Nderi Wango'mbe. Senior Chief Nderi Wango'mbe was a son of Wang'ombe wa Ihuura. We all know the legend about Wang'ombe wa Ihuura. Having read different books and the oral history that I know, Wang'ombe wa Ihuura was in one book written by one John, who was a European or a European from the Great Britain, who wrote a book during the pre-colonial period. He says that when they were coming to identify who was the king of the Kikuyus, they were able to identify Wang'ombe wa Ihuura as the king of Kikuyus. So Wang'ombe wa Ihuura was the most senior warrior. He was the chief warrior of the Kikuyus, and he happened to be the father of Wang'ombe, of Senior Chief Nderi. So it is written that when Wang'ombe wa Ihuura was approached by the white men, any meeting that he was having, he would go carrying along a small son, a small boy, who was his son, Senior Chief Nderi Wango'mbe. And in the middle of those engagements, before they could agree on anything, Wang'ombe wa Ihuura passed on, and the white men, or the colonial people, they decided to take over the conversations with this small boy, who was in young teenage years. And it is at that point that they made him a paramount senior chief to represent the larger Nyeri District, which was a bit huge, which occupied almost half of central Kenya back then. So that is how Senior Chief Nderi came to be chief, and a senior chief at the age of around 15 to 16. And he ruled, or rather he led this area for quite an amount of years, over 40 years. And then he left at 1952 after an unfortunate incident which
wakati wakoloni waliingia, nadhani ni vile tu ule kuwa na uwezo wa kuelewa maneno, wakamsukua kama nini, kama chief, hata akiwa kijana mdogo. Kwa hivyo kutoka hapo ndiye alianza kupata maneno ya kuongoza hapa Nyeri, kuwa Senior Chief Nderi. Yes.
Na kama chief, Senior Chief, ni impact gani aliweka kwa life ya watu wa Nyeri? Soma hiyo story unakumbuka?
Kwanza hata alipeana mashule, shamba ikajengwa shule. Ya kwanza ilikuwa inaitwa kwa Nderi Primary School, hata ikaitanishwa na jina yake. Alikuwa anapenda watu wakifanya nini, wakienda masomo. Hata watoto wake wale walikuwa wa kwanza already walipelekwa shule na wakasoma na wakawa watu wakubwa serikalini ile ilikuweko. Hata wengine walienda pigano za Second World War kule Bama. Kwa hivyo enyewe impact ilikuwa naye kubwa, kwa sababu hata pia hata kama alikuwa na wanawake wengi, alitaka watu walikuwa naenda kanisa, kwa sababu hata kama hakuwa Mkristiano vile, lakini watoto yake walifanya nini? Walikuwa naenda kanisa. Na sana sana kwa sababu hakukuwa na kanisa karibu hapa, walikuwa naenda kule kunaitwa Tetu kwa mission, kwa sababu makanisa hazikuwa mingi.
And we have been taught that he was very influential because he was a kind man. He had no war with anyone, and having been there are many people who have termed him as a colonialist. But when I give you a story, understanding that he became chief at only 14-15 years, then you cannot call him a colonialist. He was just either a beneficiary or a victim of circumstances, and he just had to grow with the teachings of the Catholic Church, which he held dear. In fact, the only issue Senior Chief Nderi had with the Mau Mau was actually matters of spirituality, because he did not believe in the oathing that was going on. He believed in a different kind of spirituality, and that was the major area of conflict that Senior Chief Nderi had with Mau Mau. Otherwise, all the sons of Senior Chief Nderi were Mau Mau members. They were Mau Mau warriors, and he had allowed them to go and fight for this country. He had allowed them to go and fight for this land. So I actually celebrate Senior Chief Nderi because being on the government side, he was actually sponsoring and supporting the war. I have had information from reliable sources who are senior members of this family who interacted with Kenyatta, some who are his bodyguards, and Kenyatta said that he would come for advice regularly to Senior Chief Nderi on how they were going to win the war and bring back the government to the people. So you can see that Senior Chief Nderi was constantly and continuously consulting with Mau Mau warriors, Mau Mau leaders and leaders of the Kikuyu people on how they were going to win the war. He had given all his sons. He was actually helping arm the sons so that they could go and fight the war. So we say...
Na still hata kama walikuwa na ile lineage ya kusema wakoloni wasiende saa hiyo, kwa sababu labda kulingana na fikira zao walikuwa nataka maendeleo kwanza, tupate maendeleo hata kama wataenda baadaye. Lakini kulingana na vile nilikuwa nasikia, hata wale Mau Mau walikuweko, hawakuwa maadui sana, hata kama aliwao na Mau Mau, kwa sababu pia hata watoto wake wengine walikuwa wapi? Kwa Mau Mau. Ni vile tu alipata uongozi serikalini na akaonekana he is capable kuwa nini, mtu wa kuongoza serikali kulingana, kwa sababu unajua wakati ule watu walikuwa wanakaa kwa vijiji, sio kama sasa ati kila mtu amegawiwa shamba yake nini. Kama ni familia yake ilikuwa inakaa mahali moja, hata nao watoto wake, wanawake yake, wote walikuwa wanakaa mahali moja. Unajua wakati ule yule nadhani yule mtu wa kwanza kuuawa kwanza alikuwa Chief Waruhiu kutoka pande ya Kiambu. The same year 52. Hawakuashana sana. Unajua Mau Mau hawakuwa wanataka kuona mtu yeyote ana collaborate na mzungu ama mkoloni. Na ndio sababu lazima wagemuinda kila siku lazima wagemuinda na mfanye nini? Na wamuue. Kwa hivyo hawakuwa na story nyingine, lazima wagemaliza that. Hiyo mtu yeyote alikuwa na collaborate na mkoloni, lazima wagemfanya nini? Wagemuua. At that time, sijui kama naweza sema ilikuwa haki, lakini unajua kama vile watu walikuwa nakaa wakati huo, hakuna mtu angefurahia mkoloni, although lazima wangekuwa na nani? Na watu wale tuseme kama mkoloni alikuwa ameajiri Senior Chief Nderi kama chief wao. Lakini what about the rest? Wanaona they are being oppressed na yule mkoloni. So it comes a time lazima happen, kwa sababu lazima wale wagejikomboa, na walikuwa naona kama huyu amekuwa nini, anafunga ile kuokolewa kwa nini, kwa kufukuza mzungu.
Have always believed that we never acquired the freedom in actual sense that we were fighting for. Yes, we got the government, We got the independence in terms of government. We got back our land, of which we also didn't get our land in full, because we understand that the format in which land was given to the people was not a fair format. Only the powerful who were able to buy back land from the white people and the white settlers were able to benefit from it. So we got independence, we got back the government, but we did not get freedom. I have always had an issue with those who killed Senior Chief Nderi, because he had only gone to them to correct them on oathing, but they declared him an enemy. The fact that he was serving in government and the fact that he had become chief at teenage years, we did not expect him to resign. We expected him to continue serving government and becoming useful to the struggle of the Mau Mau people by, informing them and empowering them through the ways in which he was doing it. As I've already stated, his sons, his children, he had commissioned them to go and fight for Mau Mau as he stood in government and became an agent of the Mau Mau people. So we understand that for some reason, much as we celebrate the Mau Mau people, there was in a way a design in which they did not fight objectively. For example, they did not really fight this war in a strategic manner. And that is why we never really got to, to have a proper transition, because we would have expected a proper election. We would have expected a constitution that was developed by the people to be the one that was going to be given to rule the people of Kenya at transition. But literally, the white man really planned his own succession and his own succession as he left the country. So we never really got the freedom, and the white men left a system and a structure of government that ensured that they were going to be in charge. We've never really been free. If you look at the balance of trade in Kenya, we import more than we manufacture. If you look at our economy, it is really dependent on the West. We are really dependent on foreign debt. We are really dependent on foreign assistance. We are really dependent on policies. If you look at the presidents of Kenya right now, before you are elected, you have to go to Chatham House in the UK to go and give your manifesto. Why? Because the Western powers have to approve of you if you are going to go and protect their interests, if you are going to protect their business interests. And that is why we've seen in West Africa, there are nations that are breaking free from that chain of neocolonialism. So we are not free, and there is a book that was written, Not Yet Uhuru. If you read that book, you'll understand that much as we had the independence that we speak about, we are not free. We are still controlled by Western powers. We still have seen situations in which our electoral justice is still not real, because personally, having contested in Kenya, I can tell you that there is no electoral justice in Kenya. We have a way in which the West always try to manipulate even the politics and the communication systems to ensure that it favors their candidate. And that candidate is a candidate who is always going to continue to promote the Bretton Woods institutions like the World Bank, so that they can continue, having power over us. And the objective is to ensure that the Kenyan person will never break free from this chain. And that is why they are always able to empower a few people. And J.M. Karuku was killed for those reasons. He was killed for saying that there are 10 billionaires and 10 million poor people in Kenya. Right now, we have 50 billionaires, so to say, and 50 million struggling Kenyans. And that way, for as long as we are struggling, we do not have the power to stand up for our rights. We do not have the power to break from the code of neocolonialism. And so the Western powers are able to have control by controlling the few billionaires, because they understand that for them to be powerful, for them to continue being rich, they must continue feeding and submitting to the projects and the systems of the West, the economic systems of the West. And that is why the form of capitalism that we have in Kenya promotes neocolonialism. And that is why as Kenya, if only we had come together and created our own form of African socialism, which respects the right of people to own property and the right of people to actually work and earn their hard-earned money, and at the same time ensure that we do not leave anyone behind. Then if we do not do that, we will never be free. And the freedom that we fought for, we have never found it. And I believe our forefathers, if they came today and found how even the politics that we are seeing today, where we are being able to be manipulated. Right now we are speaking about being on the side of one leader versus another. But in real sense, we know that they always come together to plan how they are going to extend the hegemony or the neocolonialism of the Western powers.
Ni some extent ni kidogo sana, tumejikoboa kidogo sana. Kwa sababu tumejikoboa kuwa tuna uhuru ya kutembea mahali kila mtu anataka. Lakini ukiangalia mzungu hata kama aliondoka, economically ndiye anafanya nini? Ndiye na bado ako within us, kwa sababu economically we are not able. Kwa hivyo already anatufanya wakoloni, bado hata tukiwa uhuru tukiwa namna hii, lakini economically we are not.
Haya. Sasa hivi nani anaishi kwa nyumba?
Hakuna mtu anakaa. Yes.
Baada ya mzee kukufa?
Baada ya mzee kukufa, mtoto yake alikuwa anaitwa Ernest Wang'Ombe ama Kivororo. Ndiye alikuwa anaishi hapa na familia yake. Na already huyo mtoto yake ameaga tayari, bibi yake ameaga, na watoto wake wawili vijana wameaga. Kwa hivyo wakati huyo Mr. Ernest alikufa na bibi yake, hakuna mtu mwingine ameshawahi kuishi wapi? Kuishi hapa. Ndio na sasa iko tu namna hiyo. Hii kanisa yule Ernest alikuwa anakaa hapa. Kwa sababu yeye ndiye aligawiwa hii shamba. Na yeye akatoa nafasi ya hii kanisa kujengwa. Kwa hivyo shamba sio kununua, tulipewa na Ernest Kivororo. Ndiye alipeana hii shamba na ikajengwa kanisa. Yes. Kabla hata hii kanisa haijajengwa, mzee Senior Chief Nderi alifanya nini? Amezikwa hapa karibu na kanisa. Sasa waliomba, wakati kanisa ilikuwa inajengwa, yule waliomba ruhusa kutoka kwa missionaries. Alikuwa anaitwa Bishop Sisa Gatimu. Ndiye alipeana ruhusa hii kanyumba iko pande hii ikakuwa extended kutoka from the main church. Na ndio ikaitwa Nderi Memorial Church. Yes.
Mpaka saa hii bado.
Mpaka saa hii iko namna hiyo.
Kaburi lake liko ndani. Liko
ndani ya hiyo nyumba.
Na watu alikuwa anaenda church. Huyo
alikuwa anaenda church mara moja, maybe Christmas ama wakati ya Pasaka. Yes. Only those two. Kwa sababu alikuwa anaenda, kulikuwa kunaitwa Tetu mission. Ndio alikuwa anaenda. Yes.
Haya, tuambie about haya makaburi. Haya makaburi ni nani?
Haya makaburi tukuje kwa mwenye hii boma. Huyu ni bibi ya Ernest. Yes. Hii ni shamba ya Ernest yote. Yes. Nayo hii ni ya, sorry, hii ndio ya bibi ya Ernest.
Hii ndio ya bibi
ya Ernest, yes. Yes, hii ndio ya bibi ya Ernest. Elizabeth. Naye huyu ndio ni mtoto, unaona, ni Miss Elizabeth Wajiro Ernest. Unaona? Huyu ni mama ya Ernest.
Sasa
bibi ndio yule. Huyu ni mama ya Ernest Kivororo.
Sasa
bibi ya Nderi. Yes.
Wa mwisho ama?
Siwezi kukumbuka ni wangapi, lakini ni bibi ya Nderi, one of the wives. Yes. Kwa sababu sasa hii hakuna yuko uhai. Mabibi zake zote.
Alikufa mwisho.
Kuna yule alikufa wa mwisho. Alikufa 2015. Yes. Okay. Yeah. It's one of them. Yes.
Na hiyo story ya polygamy.
Yes.
Bado kuna mtu kwa hii familia ama hata wewe?
Mimi hapana. Mimi na mmoja tu.
Lakini kuna wenye wamechukua.
lakini pia hawako wale watoto wake wazee wa Nderi. Kuna mmoja ama wawili walikuwa na wake 4 na wengine wake kama 3, lakini haikuenda sana. Yes.
Maisha ya Chief Nderi imeimpact aje life ya saa hii kwa hii area nzima?
Tuseme Nderi alikuwa mtu ya he could accumulate wealth, kwa sababu alituashia mashamba na hakuna mtu hakupata kitu, kwa sababu hata ile mali alikuwa naye iligawanywa na 28 wives, kwa sababu iligawanywa kulingana na wanawake, kama vile tu ilikuwa kiutamaduni. Ukikufa kama una mabibi 2 ama 3 watagawanywa mali yako namna hiyo tu. Yes. Kwa hivyo alituashia mali ya sisi kujimundu,
mashamba ya
kutosha. Kwa hivyo ni vile tu tulipata tu yenyewe vile hiyo mali alituashia imetufanya tunakuwa sawa. Yes. Sasa hawa ni watoto wa Ernest. Wanaitwa, alikuwa Ernest ni Joseph Ernest Karimi.
Huyu alikuwa mtoto wake?
Ni mtoto wa Ernest. Yes.
Hii inaonekana kuwa ya karibu sana.
Naye yule ni mtoto wa huyu. Yes.
Yule ni mtoto
wa Karimi. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Sasa yule alikuwa anaita Nderi, anaweza kuita Nderi is great grandfather. Yes.
Na mnajuana nyinyi wote?
Changamoto ni mingi sana. Kwa sababu kujuana, unajua naye watu wameenda kila mahali, mtu amenatoka hapa naenda. Na kama mtu ameenda kivyake, hata tukirudi hapa tukiwa familia, tukiwachana tu tena mtu anazao mwingine. Unaona? Kwa sababu ya so many. Yes.
Na ushaipata hiyo nini? Ama ushaipata cases penye hata watu wameoana?
Ishaipatikana. Unaweza kuta watoto wakiwa wadogo, unajua wanakutana tu, mtu wa ng'ambo hili na ng'ambo hii, you get bado unakuta wako pamoja, lakini wakishajulikana mapema wanaambiwa, unajua huyu unafaa kumuita mama, huyu ni kama mama yako, huyu ni kama your sister, so you are not supposed to mix that blood. Kwa hivyo kama unataka mwanamke, weenda mbali, na lazima utujulishe, kwa sababu anaweza kuwa ako mbali na bado ni wetu. Kwa hivyo msifanye chochote kabla hamjafanya nini, hatujajua yule mtu unaleta ametoka wapi, kwa sababu naweza kuwa labda ni my sister ameolewa Murang'a, naye kijana yangu ameenda Murang'a kufanya kazi, wanapatana huko. So unaona that mixture haiwezi kosa kwa familia kama hii. Yeah. Haiwezi kosa.
Iko nyingi sana.
Sio mingi, lakini haiwezi kosa moja. That's a reality. Yes.
Haya. As a family nini unaweka pamoja?
Kama leo tuko na kitu tunaita Nderi Day. Tunakumbuka huyo mzee. Wale wanaweza kuja, wanakuja kwa sababu hamwezi kuja nyote kwa sababu kila mtu ako na, lakini wale tuko hapa kila mtu mnajaribu kuuliza, na huyu ni wa nani? Ni wa mtu, ni wa fulani, ni wa fulani. Kuna hiyo gathering kama ya leo, every year tunakuwa naye mwezi wa 10.
The times of President Kenyatta, President Moi, the Nderi family has always occupied senior positions in this government. We had Ignatius Nderi, who was the director of CID when the CID was very powerful. Right now we have, we also had the leader of the, I think the director of the Kenya Aerodromes Authority back then. Even right now we have PS Nderi Wango'mbe, who is a PS for gender. And we have always had prominent leaders. The first leader to ever have a campaign with a chopper in the history of Kenya and Nyeri for a parliamentary seat was actually Peter Nderi, who was a son of Senior Chief Nderi. And he conducted his campaign in a big way. But unfortunately, back then, electoral justice was not something that was very popular. So despite winning the popular vote, we are aware he was rigged out, and he never got to occupy office. But he was really supported by the the powerful men of the Nderi family back then. So of course the Nderi family, of course over time we may not have as many powerful people, but we have notable men. We have men who are in different areas of government, different areas of business, and we are at a time where as a family we are looking forward to presenting a leader who will take over from the reigns of Wang'Ombe Ihuura, the reigns of Senior Chief Nderi, and we have prophecies that state that it is this family that is going to take back the leadership of the Kikuyu people back to where it was. And so we are at a time where we have to front a leader as the family, and we need someone who can come out and continue to fight for the ideals that Wang'Ombe Ihuura was fighting for. We need someone who is courageous. And I, as Kijana Chief Nderi, have presented myself at the age of 19 in 2017. I presented myself as a candidate for Senate in Nyeri County, unsuccessfully because I did not win. I vied through the New Democrats Party back then. I also contested for the Member of Parliament of Nyeri Town constituency in the year 2022. And it was because I had an inspiration to bring back the ideals of courage to the leadership of this nation and the leadership of the Kikuyu people. Because from the ages of the past, the Kikuyu people and the Kenyan people have always valued a leader who shows courage, a leader who tells truth to authority. And that is the kind of leader I have been. And I believe that it is time, as we move to 2027. I am preparing myself. I am speaking to and consulting many people. I believe that my time is here, and I am ready to fight for the people, and not just for the family, not just for the people of Nyeri, not just for the Kikuyu people, but for the entire nation. Because we are at a time where if we do not stand up and fight for the ideals that our forefathers fought for, when they fought for the land and taking back the land and government from the white people, then if we do not stand up and also fight what we are going on in this country, because what we are having in this country is what we call Neocolonialism, where the colonizers and the Western powers want to continue having hold of our government, hold of our economy through the neo-colonial agencies. And that is what we are going on, we are having in this country at this time. As a young leader, I believe that if I were to become President of the Republic of Kenya, because I believe that is possible and that is within the possibilities that I believe in. First of all, we will have to really have a sit down as the people of Kenya. We had Gaddafi. Gaddafi really promoted the development of Libya, and where we would find that the people were benefiting from the minerals that were in that country. There was free education, free healthcare. One of the things that I would promote, and if you want to know where the Western powers want to continue laying hold on us, it is healthcare. Right now you can see what is happening with Chief and Shah, because they want to continue holding the healthcare system and ensuring that it is not free, because a healthy people can fight for their rights and they can work hard and deliver their nation. The other issue will be delivering free healthcare, free education to the people. We will have to find means of funding healthcare, and not just healthcare and education, quality healthcare and education. Kenya is one of the richest countries in the world. We have minerals. We have had Joho recently confess, the CS for mining, that we have minerals in this country that are being mined illegally. We have gold in this country. Recently there was a chemical, a lorry that fell along the road, and the chemical that it was carrying is a chemical that is used to extract gold. And that is what Kenyans actually realize. So there is gold in this country that is being mined, and we do not know where. So if we can first ensure that we protect all our mineral ores, wherever they are, we have to get back their hold and ensure that we use the wealth that is in this country, because we have a lot of wealth, we have a lot of resources, we have water. We are going to ensure that Kenyans go back to their farms and they are able to feed their nation. If we can feed their nation, our nation, then we can be free. The second thing is, if we can make use of the wealth that we have in this country. We have seen the wars that are being sponsored in Congo to ensure that they do not maximize use of their wealth of minerals that is in their country. If we can get back our wealth, and if we can be able to reduce taxes on our people to ensure that they're able to progress, in terms of their economy, in terms of their finances, in terms of quality of life that they can live, then if we can also be able to educate our people, then we can free this country. The other thing is that we must change not our education system, because we have seen the CBC is not working in Kenya. We should have just remained with 844, but change what we call the system of teaching and the quality of what is taught, so that we can stop teaching Western developed curriculums and be able to develop a curriculum that will empower our people to be manufacturers, to be producers, and to be people who can develop their own country. But now what we have with CBC is also a Western developed system that is supposed to make our children believe that they are growing to be workers. And so we have seen the CBC mentality being developed is of children who are workers and who cannot question the states. And so that is not what we want in this country. We want to establish an education system that will create a country that is free. So if I am elected and if I get to a position of power or authority or leadership, I will become a servant leadership. I will become a person who believes in engagement of the people, where we can come together. We have so many intelligent minds in this country. We have professors, we have doctors, we have people who may not be as educated, but they have ideas. We need to pick every idea that is in this country, develop it all together, and have a work plan. And we have a blueprint of how we are going to redeem this country. Because what this country needs is redemption from Western powers. We are definitely also going to break free from debt. If I am going to be elected a leader in this country, we must now audit our debt. We must make sure that we stop paying these debts that we've been given, that are actually not accountable. We have debts that have been given to this country and that we are paying that cannot be accounted for, that were shady deals that were struck between corrupt individuals and providers of that debt. We must now audit that debt, stop paying that debt, restructure those debts to ensure that we are not slaves of debt, and that way we can be able to cut on the fiscal deficit, so that once we cut on the fiscal deficit, we don't have to overtax Kenyans. And Kenyans are hardworking and they can develop their own economy. We also need to work on the unemployment that is in this country. Our Kenyans don't have jobs. And why? It is because we are focused on building roads, building railways that are actually overpriced. And so we use all our taxes on doing that instead of directing resources to the private sector. What Kibaki did for the economy to grow was just giving and making capital available to the private sector. And when you make capital available to the private sector, they are able to fund the growth of the economy and they're able to create jobs. So there is no rocket science. It's only that we have a leadership that is corrupt to the core, a leadership that is incurably corrupt, that only thinks of how they can empower themselves and how they can enrich themselves. So we are going to end corruption in Kenya. We are going to, for a while, bring some very socialist policies to manage our economy and redeem it to what it should become. And I can tell Kenyans that after the Gen Z revolution that we just saw, what we need in Kenya is not a revolution of war and violence, because the state has a monopoly of violence. They are going to kill us. What we need is a revolution of ideas, where our people start developing new ideas. We stop voting on tribal lines, ethnic lines, political party lines, because our parties in Kenya have no ideology, so we cannot continue to vote on party lines. And then we establish an ideological orientation in Kenya, where we vote for leaders based on what they believe. That is and what they represent, the ideals that they represent. Just like it is in the US, where, Trump is a conservative, Kamala is a liberal, and so the liberals vote for Kamala because the ideals she has, are ideals that they share. And then the conservatives vote for Trump because he's a conservative like them. We also want to ensure that we have a revolution of ideas in Kenya, where people don't vote on those old school thoughts. We want to change our mentality, vote on ideals. And that is the leadership that you're going to see in 2027, and the people have changed. The people are learning. And so we are going to continue with civic education, and I believe that this show is actually part of the civic education that our people need to free themselves from the chains of corruption and the chains of poverty that we have been put under by the governments that have ruled us.